second grade. Today we're on page 257 in the Your Turn practice book. So take a minute and make sure you're on the same page. You'll see a picture with the sunflower looking at the sun. And remember, before we start reading, we want to know what kind of story this short story is. We always want to know the genre. And remember, the genre just means what kind of story. So the genre of this short story is a myth. So let's take a minute to remember some things that we might find as we read a myth. First of all, myths are always a made-up story. So it's fictional, it's not true, someone made it up to tell a story. And second, a myth will explain why things are the way they are. So it'll try to teach why something is happening, even though it's not true, remember, but it's the story someone told to explain. And last, there is a lesson that we will learn. So we'll watch for those things. It's a made-up story. It'll explain something about a sunflower, and there will be a lesson we learn. So we'll look for those. Then at the end, we're going to answer some questions about the text. All right, let's get started reading. Clytie and Apollo. Apollo was the ruler of the sun. Clytie loved to watch Apollo as he moved across the sky. She watched him so often that she became a sunflower. Even today, sunflowers turn to the sun. So this myth explained that, look at the picture, there's the sunflower and it's pointing towards the sun, and they were teaching us that the reason sunflowers point at the sun is because there was a woman, Clytie, who was always watching Apollo flying across the sky, and so she herself was turned into a sunflower. And so now all the sunflowers are staring up towards Apollo at the sun. Remember, it's a myth, so it's a made-up story. But that was what the myth was trying to teach us. How do you know that this text is a myth? Remember, we wrote down 3 main ways to tell that it was a myth, and you could write any of these for your answer, that it's made up, it explains why things are the way they are. Remember, it explained why sunflowers point at the sun, or that it taught us a lesson. So you could use any of those in your response. I'm going to write down, it tells why sunflowers turn towards the sun. Right, number 2, who is Apollo? Now it tells us right there at the top, so let's go back and read the first sentence, and it says exactly who he is. Apollo was the ruler of the sun. And that's all we have to write. We can just copy that part. Ruler of the sun. Told us right there at the beginning. If you need a little bit more time, you can always pause to see the answer. And if you're ready, we'll get ready to go on to number 3. Why does Clytie look up at the sky? Remember why she looks at the sky? The story says, right in the second sentence, Clytie loved to watch Apollo as he moved across the sky. So she was always looking up towards the sun, watching Apollo floating around, according to the story. So we can just write, she watches Apollo. All right, last question. What does the myth explain? Or what is it telling us about? What is it teaching us? Do you remember? What story did it teach? It taught about the sunflower, that the sunflower points towards the sky because Clytie used to always watch Apollo up in the sky. And so she was turned into a sunflower, so now all the sunflowers point towards the sun. So what can we write for our answer? Let's say it explains why sunflowers point at the sun. Why sunflowers point at the sky. If you need more time, you can always pause right here to see all of the answers on your screen. Take as long as you need. And if you're all finished, then we're all set for this lesson. Nice job. We read about a myth today and all of the different parts that go into a myth. We learned that they teach a lesson, that they're a fictional story, and we answered questions about our sunflower myth. Good work, second grade.